Hello, CrazyCat690 here. I've just finished my very first playthrough of Fallout 4 and I'd like to share my thoughts on the whole thing. Not a review as I'm a bit late to the party and overall I'll keep it pretty simple and personal. Also, don't worry, I don't intend to drop any spoilers. Now may sound weird that I finished the story of Fallout 4 just now. I mean, it's been out a long time and all. The thing is, for once I enjoyed it so much didn't want it to end. In the past I've never been the biggest Bethesda fan, so I've never dragged their games out any longer than I've had to. Let me elaborate. In Bethesda's previous games like Skyrim and Fallout, I felt the writing and gameplay was rather poor. Sure, they were very open all that, but I need the game to be enjoyable to play if I'm going to enjoy everything else it has to offer. I just couldn't get into their previous games because they felt so stiff in every way. The worlds felt like parks where I interacted with robots and so on. Fallout 4, however, did elevate itself to such a level it no longer felt weird. For once, the writing was pretty solid and the gameplay was highly enjoyable. I've spent a lot of time just exploring the world without a real objective, which I've never done before in a Bethesda game. In many ways, Fallout 4 is a promise of a bright future where I too will be able to get into their games. I say that because it's obviously not perfect. Yes, I enjoyed it a lot, but let's talk about the things I want improved or added. Speaking of additions, settlement building was added to Fallout 4 this time around, and it was an aspect I really enjoyed and put many hours into. It's fun, but again not perfect. Some settlements were just too small to really matter and there's just too many of them. The way I'd like this aspect handled in the future is fewer player controlled settlements but deeper mechanics. I'd like for them to matter more. If I basically own the wasteland, I want it to mean something. Would be fun to have some politics involved in this. Think of Fallout New Vegas where you could choose to take over everything for yourself. This is something I would like to see here. Yes, I know that's what the Minutemen storyline is all about, but they're really not really yours to control. What I guess I'm getting at is that I want to see a GTA style rise to power where you reach a point where you're a big deal. A point where caravan guards no longer treat you like some ragtag wastelander peasant. I know Bethesda make big games and I know you can do insane amount of things in them. But if there's one thing they've yet to master is to make the world respond to you in a way you feel like you matter. Fallout New Vegas again did this pretty well. You were given feedback to your actions. If you killed members of Caesar's Legion at first sight, then you'd reach a point where you're vilified in their eyes. You could also become idolized by different factions and communities. In short, it felt like your presence was acknowledged. Moving on, to again bring up the Minutemen aspect. If you want, you can pretty quickly in the game become the Minutemen General. A nice title, yet it feels hollow that even after having literally every settlement available under your control, you need to take care of everything yourself. It feels like the next step for Bethesda is to look into micromanagement. Wouldn't be too far-fetched considering they've added a big new mechanic such as settlement building. Let me send troops to defend the settlements, to take settlements or to sabotage the enemy or clear out raider camps. Just let me feel like the leader I've worked so hard to be. Now to bring up something completely different, vehicles. I know there's both negative and positive opinions on this, but I really feel vehicles could be a good addition to Fallout. Now I don't think they'd work very well in Fallout 4 in particular, but they could be added to improve future installments. How, you may ask? Fallout 4 felt pretty dense. Not really a bad thing in most cases, but this is Fallout. You're supposed to feel like you're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, yet it feels too alive. You walk 2 feet and you stumble upon yet another settlement or otherwise inhabited location. Some breathing room between points of interest would go a long way to capture the feel of the original games, and the vehicle would be more useful. Of course I also bring up vehicles for another reason. In a near future, a patch will be released that overhauls the survival mode. One way it does this is by removing fast travel. One point against vehicles I always hear is that you miss out the sense of exploration, that you just race past everything interesting. Now my counterpoint is that fast traveling does this in a much higher degree. At some point the world gets very small as there's no reason to actually wander around anymore. You're you're just going from loading screen to loading screen. My solution would be to completely remove fast travel apart from maybe certain locations like Witcher 3, but instead introduce vehicles that allow you to travel faster between locations while exploring the wasteland in between. Could work a bit like the power armor does in Fallout 4. Speaking of which, the power armor in Fallout 4 was both a hit and a miss. First, I do like that this time around it felt like a big powerful piece of armor. Secondly, not a fan of the fusion core system. I get that they wanna limit it somehow and to make sure you don't abuse such a valuable asset. I mean, it's really against the lore that their batteries only last 30 minutes. It's just wrong in that regard. What I'd suggest is reduce the level of protection so they're not quite as overpowered, and don't sprinkle them around the wasteland like they've done here. I'm fairly certain that it can be balanced without messing up the lore so much. Now, there's two more points I'd like to address in this already lengthy piece. The dialogue and choices. Now let it be known that I actually liked having a voiced protagonist. If I spend an hour creating my character, I like to see him interact with those around him. What I don't like is that I suddenly can't interact with anyone after having done their quests. What I refer to is that I've literally completed every quest in the game and there's no one I can talk to anymore except traders and those who give Radiant quests. Oh, and by the way, a small thing about that I'd like to see is someone but factions characters give out these quests. As an example, the chem salesman in Diamond City could always have more ingredients for the players to collect. As far as choices go, and this will be my final issue, I would have liked to see a more open story. Now I do feel this was the most well written and interesting story ever to be in a Bethesda game, but because it was searching for your son, you're automatically written to be a good character. Even the companions reflect this. There's not a single companion that's outright evil. Even Fallout 3 had this, so it baffles me that this time around being good, more or less, is your only option. Not that it had to be that way. I could easily see how instead of being a force for good, the events in the game would have led the protagonist on a more violent and evil path. Though, as I don't want to spoil much, I won't go deeper into that. I would, however, like to see in the future that you don't define my character this much from the start. Like the voice actor even sounds so kind it's hard to be an evil bastard even if you try. There you have it, my thoughts on Fallout 4 and where it can go from here. I'm very excited for it as I did enjoy playing it a lot. I had spent about 200 hours on my first playthrough and I want more. To me that's a testament to how good the game is. CrazyCat690 signing off.